I call this meeting of the Conroe Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum of members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 6 o'clock. Let's turn some time over to item 1A and B, our invocation, led by Dale Inman, and our Pledge of Allegiance by Datron Williams.
Thank you. Pray with me if you'd like. Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the men and women of our community that have been here tonight and those that are watching at home, trying to do what's the very best for our kids in this district. Father, give us wisdom. Help us to be respectful of one another's opinions and ideas. Help us do everything that would glorify you. And Father, just again, I just ask that we would be open to every kid does succeed in Conroe. Help us to keep that in mind. Father, we thank you for your many, many blessings you've given to this nation, to this state, and to this county, and to this school district. Again, Father, I thank you for the parents and the stakeholders who are involved in Conroe ISD, for the leadership of Dr. Knoll and others. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. Item 2A, special recognition, Patrons Influencing Education Award, our PI Awards for Montgomery County Dyslexia Partnership and Brighter Education for Dyslexia, Dr. Knoll.
All right, at this time, we're going to turn this item over to Vice President Moore for the presentation.
It's a little odd to stand on this side of the podium and present to you.
Your time is up.
Security. Security.
President Huber, fellow members of the board, and Dr. Knoll, it's an honor to stand before you tonight. October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. Last year, Conroe ISD passed a resolution regarding our commitment to honoring and working with our students struggling with dyslexia, their parents and guardians, and the various teachers, administrators, and support staff working to provide better educational opportunities for our students experiencing dyslexia. While only about 5% of students are identified as dyslexic, it is estimated that as many as 20% of the student population suffers from dyslexia and related disorders. That works out to approximately 1 million students in the state of Texas. This year, we would like to recognize some of the community members who've been vital in bringing awareness to dyslexia, providing resources for parents to better understand their students' challenges and assist in the educational process, provide support for families of dyslexic students, and advocating on behalf of struggling readers across the state of Texas. First, I'd like to recognize a few of our Conroe ISD staff and personnel who've worked so hard with our struggling readers and our dyslexic, dysgraphic, and dyscalculic students. We have 3 of those district personnel with us tonight, and I'd like to ask them to stand and be recognized at this time. We have Dr. Kendra Wiggins, Director of Special Education in 504. Dr. Sharon Henry, Coordinator of Dyslexia. And Ms. Tracy Landis, Dyslexia Specialist. All of these professionals have provided tremendous support to me as I've sought to learn more about dyslexia and advocate for our students. They reviewed the resolution we presented last year, worked with me on talking points, and provided data to support those talking points for my testimony in Austin before the legislature and the State Board of Education. Each of them have taken time to work with both of the groups that we are awarding tonight because they truly understand the meaning of all means all. I hope some of the other staff is here tonight or watching from home. These educators are the tip of the spear when it comes to our dyslexia services, but they have a host of personnel working with them as dyslexia interventionists, reading specialists and interventionists, RTI specialists, and dyslexia trained teachers. I know I'm forgetting some of the titles of the folks out there, but this cadre of personnel have been instrumental in helping these award recipients tonight bring about the changes necessary to address the challenges of our dyslexic students. And I just want to say a huge thank you to all of them tonight and those that are watching at home. The first Patron Influencing Education Award this evening goes to a group dedicated to providing education and support to the parents, guardians, and families of our dyslexic students. In April of 2014, Mrs. Stacy Evans founded A Brighter Education for Dyslexia after personally experiencing the struggles her own dyslexic student was experiencing. She saw a need for a group to help support other parents of dyslexic students, provide them with resources to help in their communication with the schools, provide them with ideas and resources to help their child outside of the school setting, and to bring in outside experts to help educate the parents about dyslexia. A Brighter Education for Dyslexia was my first entry point into this world. It was at a Brighter Education for Dyslexia meeting that I first learned about the Dyslexia Handbook and heard the frustrations voiced from parents about its complicated, unnecessarily burdensome, and often contradictory statements about dyslexia. It was from this group that I first learned of how the Dyslexia Handbook was not in alignment with the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. It was from this group that I learned that different districts, and sometimes different schools within the same district, were taking different approaches to identifying and addressing the needs of students with dyslexia. It was from this group that I learned, through one of our own CISD college and career counselors, about the availability of accommodations for college board testing and how to request accommodations from a college or university. For the past 7 years, A Brighter Education for Dyslexia has expanded its group to serve families in virtually every North Houston school district. They've been instrumental in providing needed support and education to parents and guardians to best help their struggling readers. Their efforts and their guidance have improved the educational outcomes and the lives of countless dyslexic students throughout Conroe ISD and the entire region, and have brought widespread attention to the issue. Stacy Evans and BED were even responsible for passing a resolution through the Woodlands Township Board of Directors honoring October as Dyslexia Awareness Month and convincing them to light the Woodlands Waterway red. It's my honor to present this Patrons Influencing Education Award to Mrs. Stacy Evans, founder of A Brighter Education for Dyslexia, for being such a driving force and positively influencing the education of our students with dyslexia. You get a plaque to commemorate this, and since it's a pie award, you also get a pie. I'm going to give right back here. I know where that can go. Yes.
If you'd like to come around, we'd love to shake your hand.
Thank you for all you do. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
God bless. Thanks so much for what you do.
Thank you.
On a personal note, I feel very fortunate to raise my kids in this school district. I have 3 kids that are dyslexic, different ranges, from 6th grade to 22. And there's been so much progress over the 8 years, and I really can't say enough about these 3 ladies here, Dr. Henry, Dr. Wiggins, and Ms. Tracy Landis. They're very special to me and the members of our group. Thank you.
The second Patrons Influencing Education Award tonight goes to another group that's been instrumental in bringing about needed changes to the services offered to dyslexic students. This group of parents had been involved in educating other parents and helping them find support when they themselves encountered the difficulties of helping their own children. This group decided to take their fight to Austin this year. Beginning this past January and continuing through the adjourning of the regular session of the 87th Legislature, these families virtually camped out in Austin and at the district offices of our local state officials. At the beginning of the session, HB 3880 was introduced. This group of parents quickly saw the benefit of this piece of legislation and reached out for help in advocating for it. We were able to meet with Representative Steve Toth of the Woodlands and Representative Will Metcalf of Conroe. After hearing the passionate stories of these parents and their children and examining the bill, Representative Toth signed onto the bill as an author, and Representative Metcalf signed on as a co-author. These parents spent their own money and traveled to Austin numerous times on their own time to meet with education committee members, to testify before House Public Education and Senate Education Committees, and to speak with key stakeholders in the legislation. They were the very picture of grassroots activism and were a shining example of our democracy at work. They had an issue about which they were passionate. They voiced their opinions and the needs of their own children, and they didn't give up until the fight was over. As the regular session drew to a close, it looked like they were going to be successful, but then politics reared its ugly head, and the bill was dismantled, rewritten by committees into a directed study, and ultimately failed to be passed. However, this group, disappointed as they were, did not give up. They immediately went to work speaking with members of the State Board of Education. At least twice more, they traveled to Austin again to testify before the SBOE, trying to convince them to make the needed changes to the Dyslexia Handbook and to finally align Texas Dyslexia Services with IDEA. On September 2nd of this year, the State Board of Education Committee on Instruction passed out of committee drastic edits to the Dyslexia Handbook. On September 3rd, the committee report was received and passed by the full board, for the very first time aligning Texas Dyslexia Services with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Along the way, this grassroots gathering of local parents formed alliances with other groups from around the state, including Decoding Dyslexia out of Austin and the Kitchen Table Group out of the DFW area. Through their efforts, they were able to bring about changes that will greatly improve the services available to the estimated 1 million Texas public school students who experience dyslexia. At the beginning of this month, what had begun as a loose gathering of parent advocates solidified into an incorporated 501c3 dedicated to working with parents, schools, and lawmakers to bring about the best possible outcomes for our dyslexic students. Here tonight to accept this Patrons Influencing Education Award on behalf of the Montgomery County Dyslexia Partnership are Nicole May, Shannon Villaro, and Kristen Gurisco.
If you turn it on.
I'm going to take the pie
Nicole, y'all come on.
Y'all
Dr. Wiggins, y'all join us, please. Come through. We'd like to shake your hand as well.
Yes.
Thank you for everything. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate all you. Thank you.
You are appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very, very much. Thanks so much.
How happy to celebrate
Ashley, good seeing you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. God bless. Thank you.
everything you do for our kids.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate everything. Outstanding.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. No, thank you. And thank you.
I don't know if y'all can see me over the podium. I'm here. I would like to thank President, is it
Hubert?
Hubert, sorry about that.
That's
I say
okay.
it different ways every time.
Understood.
I would like to thank you and the school board for recognizing the Montgomery County Dyslexic Partnership. It is our mission to work along with Conroe ISD to help bring awareness and support for the struggles so many of our dyslexic students face. We would like to thank Dr. Knoll, Dr. Wiggins, Dr. Henry, and Tracy Lantis for listening to parents and creating a dyslexic parent advisory board. It is because of your leadership that parents are receiving more information about dyslexia services than ever before. I'd like to publicly thank Dr. Audrey Young too. She's not here, but she has done so much to help with dyslexia, being our representative for the state school board. It is, sorry. what can we say about you, Mr. Scott Moore? You have helped us throughout so much to not only in learning what you can about dyslexia and what we can help, but just talking to people who can make a difference, and we appreciate that so much. I'd like to thank Nicole May for bringing this crazy group of moms together, that all we ever wanted to do was just help our kids, and it's nice that we're making progress. Many people know that my family has been on a long journey with dyslexia. This is our 13th year to go through this. But the good news is things are getting better in the world of dyslexia. The State Board of Education has reviewed and updated the dyslexia handbook. CISD looks to be a leader in dyslexic education and has begun to pave the way for other districts in the state to follow. CISD has introduced a pilot program, Take Flight, in a handful of schools that the students are already showing success. Along with this program, CISD has numerous teachers close to completing their training to become CALTs. We have a few CALTs, and I hope our community appreciates and understands how rare and lucky it is to have these people instructing our children. Our dyslexic teachers have done so much to help so many children. As far as we've come, we still have a little road ahead of us. I asked if we could please train some of our officials so they can properly guide the parents. It shouldn't be frequent practice to sway parents away from special education services. We must stop the myth that a student cannot go to college or become successful if they have an IEP. We need parents and the public to understand that special education is a service and not a place or a room. Lastly, junior high and high school students continue to need help and assistance. Their struggles do not end when they finish their dyslexic intervention. Please create a dyslexia specialist that is on campus. Let this person meet the dyslexic students with 504 or IEPs at the beginning of the school year. These older students need to have a place to go that truly understand their dyslexic struggles and can work on solutions with them. I am proud to be a parent and I'm an employee of Conroe ISD. I believe in the motto, all means all. I support Conroe ISD as we lead others into the future. I know that as we all work together, we can help educate future leaders. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hey.
Thank you, President Huber and members of the board for recognizing the Montgomery County Dyslexia Partnership, with this award. We want to thank each and every one of you, board members, and Dr. Knoll for everything that y'all have done to continue to support our dyslexic students. The Montgomery County Dyslexia Partnership all began with Nicole May, who created a Facebook group. And the group was created so parents could come together within our district, share information, resources, and experiences. Thank you, Nicole, for creating this group. Thank you, Ashley, Angela, and Shannon, because I've learned so much from these moms that children have kind of gone through the process. Mine was a little younger. We cannot express how much we truly appreciate Board of Trustees Scott Moore for all that he has done. Thank you, Scott, for listening and hearing our concerns as a board member and for advocating for our dyslexic student population, not only here within the district, but across our state at the legislative level as well. Thank you for taking the time to get to know our kids and for traveling across the state and being their champion. We are blessed to have you as a board member here in Conroe ISD. We want to thank all our dyslexia teachers within our district for teaching our children to read. These teachers understand that dyslexic kids learn a very specific way. They understand the need for explicit dyslexia instruction in order for them to learn how to read. These teachers are building our children's confidence and giving them the gift of literacy that will impact them for the rest of their lives. Many positive changes have been made this year across the board here in Texas. I feel personally very fortunate to live in a district with state officials like Scott Moore, Audrey Young, and Steve Toth, who've been part of this major movement. We look forward to continuing to work with Conroe ISD to ensure that all diagnosticians, counselors, APs are trained to give parents proper guidance about special education and 504 plans. We also need to ensure that the stigma, like Shannon said, of special education is removed because it is no longer a place, it is a service. This training is imperative to ensure that our district is ready to implement the new dyslexia handbook that's been talked about. Our district is also currently piloting, like Shannon said, the Take Flight program. My daughter's in this program. Just from seeing the two programs compared to Reading by Design, I'm a huge fan. And Take Flight, the program itself is evidence-based with proven success when taught with fidelity. Our hope is that our district will have more dyslexia teachers trained to be certified academic language therapists and that Take Flight is adopted district-wide. Conroe ISD is in a position to be a dyslexia district frontrunner in our state. We want to thank all of you again for this award on behalf of our dyslexic families in our district, especially our little Lionheart children and teens. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Thank you to everybody, and also to Scott Moore for your dedication to this as well. You know, those of y'all that don't know, he would come back from Austin, and sometimes he's spitting nails mad about what they were not able to do, and then sometimes he was very pleased. But we appreciate your advocacy for all of our students, our kids as well. So thanks for your dedication to these kids. All right, item 3, citizen participation. Ms. Godfrey, do we have anybody signed up today?
We do.
All right. Please keep in mind that while the meeting is held in a public forum, the purpose of this meeting is for the Board of Trustees to conduct the business of the district. If during public comments an issue is mentioned that is on tonight's posted agenda, the board will defer its decision on the issue until the item is reached on the agenda. For any subject that is not on the board's posted agenda, the board cannot deliberate or make a decision. It can only furnish specific factual information or cite existing policy in response to a question. Speakers who have signed up to address the board during public comments must make all comments to the Board of Trustees and not to the audience. If your purpose is to seek some type of remedy, the board cannot discuss or respond to your concern until you have compiled with the appropriate district policy. The board has specific policies under which a board considers complaints. Accordingly, the board will not hear complaints or derogatory comments about individual students or staff during public comment. Information about how to file a complaint is located on the district's website. The board expects that everyone in attendance will conduct themselves respectfully, regardless of whether they agree or disagree with the speaker's message. Interrupting speakers in this meeting will not be tolerated. To ensure that the board can efficiently conduct the district's business, each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Each speaker's time will be displayed on the screen around the room. When the countdown timer reaches 0, the next speaker will be called. Ms. Godfrey, will you please call our first person?
Carrie Freemeyer.
I think I was going to go first, but members of the board, President Hubert, Dr. Knoll, thank you so much for what you do. I'm speaking on behalf of Texas State Teachers Association. I'm the president of the area, and I just want to say thank you so much for always being so supportive of educators and employees in the education field. Your decisions are so crucial, and I know it's been very challenging, especially within these last couple of years, the decisions that you've had to make, but we really appreciate it. We appreciate the stipend that we just received in the beginning of October, and I also want to give you a heads up that we are still in plan for making our teacher salute to education ceremony in May. So I'm just letting you know right now so you guys can put that on your calendar. And thank you so much again. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Daniels.
Well, thank you. what I just heard and the presentation about the dyslexia and how you all work together, you all need to be commended. That's wonderful. Educating and acknowledging that the children have these needs and giving them what they need to succeed. So thank you very much for that. I would like to see that excelled. I would like to see more teachers' aides in the classrooms to help with the reading, the writing, the arithmetic, and the history. This is proof in the pudding that you guys know what you're doing, because what you did with dyslexia, that's wonderful. But the child that falls in between the average of doing well and underneath might need just a little bit more push. And that's where I am a true advocate for either making the classroom smaller or getting teachers' aides. You have some magnificent teachers. I know, I have relatives who are teachers in this district, and their struggles are with aides, and they need help with that. There's so much paperwork with other things going on that if they could have a little bit more help with that, that would be great. I don't know what type of funds you have for that or if it's possible, but thank you. I was very enlightened by what I heard this evening, so thank you. On another note, I did find out that Conroe ISD approved the $1.7 million in spending for campus air protection systems. I am a little concerned about this and the money spent on this. It says that it kills COVID-19 at a rate of 99.999%, but yet we're not mandating, but we are recommending that our students wear masks. Well, the mask itself contributes to upper respiratory problems and sicknesses. So it seems to me, by implementing and putting this system in, but you're recommending masks, is contradictory as to what you're trying to do. My next question is, or comment is, all right, you spend the $1.7 million, where's the money coming for the maintenance and upkeep of this equipment? So has that been budgeted in, and where will that be coming from? Just a food for thought. I just was intrigued by the article and wanted to know long-term what the repercussions and the expenses will be. Thanks again, and like I said, I was very enlightened by the dyslexia. That was amazing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
TJ Diaz.
Hey, how are you? Welcome.
Good. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm going to read off my paper so I don't get sidetracked. Hi, Dr. Knoll. Hi, my name is TJ Diaz, and I'm a local real estate agent. I am also a local community member who cares a great deal about my family, friends, neighbors, and all of my clients who live in Conroe, Texas. In real estate, we are not allowed to steer our clients away from certain areas, even if we feel like it may be in their best interest to avoid certain areas. So the only thing I can do is try to shape the area into a place that I believe will be welcoming and healthy for all of my clients. When Principal Levecki made disparaging comments to the minority students at Oak Ridge High School, I felt extremely disappointed for any families that I helped by in this area. How could I put them in harm's way to be discriminated against by their own principal? They haven't even made it to adulthood before experiencing racism. Being Black in Montgomery County, I know that this will likely not be their last experience with racism, speaking from personal experience. But I can at least try to push the school district to put measures in place to ensure that this does not happen again, and that this particular incident at least inspires some policy changes. I am asking the district to, at minimum, put Dr. Levecki on leave and require him to take some diversity and inclusion training during his absence. I feel like that's the bare minimum that I could ask for when I know others would prefer him be fired. During the meeting that I participated in with Dr. Levecki, he said himself that he did not grow up around Black kids. He did not go to a college with Black friends. He did not have a lot of experience, if any, with teaching Black kids. So I'm not sure why he was selected as the principal for one of the most diverse schools in Conroe ISD. But it's time more care and consideration is made with selecting these roles and how you train them. So if the district has a committee that helps discuss these types of considerations, I would not mind volunteering my time or recommending others who would be a good fit. I can also provide recommendations for diversity and inclusion experts. There are some that work specifically with school districts. In the meantime, please just consider my request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Savannah Eldridge.
Hi, good evening. My name's Savannah Eldridge. I'm the Criminal Justice Chair for the local chapter of the NAACP and founder of an organization called Be Frank for Justice. And I'm here also to express my concerns regarding statements made by Principal Levesque, and specifically a quote that he said that regarding if stuff happens again, we're going to operate like Aldine ISD or HISD and be on lockdown, get metal detectors and all that crap, because that's not how we roll. While Mr. Principal Levesque is correct, that is not how Conroe ISD, the 10th largest school district in the state, should operate. In his referencing of the two neighboring districts, both of which are predominantly Hispanic and Black school districts, he opened up a conversation about how educators respond to the behavior of minority students in this district. And outside of the NAACP, I had a personal experience with my own son in Conroe ISD, which led for me to withdraw him from the school district in less than a year of his attendance. So I'm speaking from personal experience. So some of Mr. Levesque's students did decide to protest, and people with opposing views seemed to move more swiftly than the district in their response. These children took a stance and were asking to be heard, and I believe that they deserve that. And what they received in response was verbal assaults, racial epithets, and physical assaults with attempts from people trying to basically spit on them for exercising their constitutional rights. And while the district is not to blame for the reaction of these students, the way in which he responded has been noted and is being monitored. In the district's most recent district plan for improvement, all campus staff were expected to undergo cultural and diversity awareness training, yet there's no clear action plan for the way in which this training has occurred or furthermore been implemented. Despite the need to improve understanding and awareness of cultural diversity and disability differences, to increase ownership of students and effectiveness of institutional practices being listed on that same plan. As a community, we can't begin to embrace diversity with empathy and respect if we're not willing to have these conversations, to come to an understanding, to promote inclusion of all people, regardless of race, regardless of disability, etc. Per the handbook, CISD ensures that every student's academic, social, and emotional needs are a priority. And where that may be true in most circumstances, these students have boldly communicated that they did not feel that their needs had been met. While the apology offered by Principal Levesque was received and appreciated, the NAACP would like to see Mr. Levesque and Conroe ISD make an effort to resolve concerns with the students and their families with an action plan for implementation of interventions that truly create not only an inclusive but a supportive culture, because all means all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Benjamin Bauer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Benjamin Bauer. This is the first board meeting I've ever attended. I wish I had attended more. It was really pleasant to hear the awards dedication and success with helping the children in 504 and special education. That was really nice to hear. As a side note, my sister-in-law has actually been having a problem with her child with getting the testing even to be able to go through the steps of even getting federal funding. So it's really, really nice to hear that you guys are awarding the ladies and giving them notoriety where they're due. And with regard to the previous two ladies that went before me on diversity, this is kind of strange for me because I grew up here. I went to the Woodlands High School. I graduated from the Woodlands High. Dr. Don Stockton was my principal. I actually just saw him a little bit over a month ago at my 20-year high school reunion. And it's really interesting to me to hear that there's so much concern for this diversity and training and recommending a board member. I think it was a board member the lady spoke about, removing him and getting him diversity training. I don't think that's appropriate. It's not my say, and I don't think it's the say right now to be able to say that right now. I think that's more of a private matter. But this would definitely be news to me that this is an actual issue. And it's not that I'm not diverse. I'm Jewish. So I went through this, and I had to experience the Aryan days of rage and have CISD police follow me and my brother throughout the school, and there wasn't any particular issues that we ever experienced like this. Yes, there's always going to be some kid in a school of 4,000 that is dumb and ignorant. But I don't think that should be a talking point for this board. What I'm here about is actually, and I got 55 seconds left, is about how my son's elementary school, Direction, the principal of Direction, how she actually kind of breeds a culture of fear with regards to how kids cross the street. She made the crossing guards tell the children to dismount and walk their bikes. Actually creates a bottleneck, and it's what I decided to do is actually say enough's enough when I'm there with my son, and the crossing guard is saying to him to dismount. I'm the parent. The parent's supposed to listen. The child's supposed to listen to me, and we're not on school property. My issue is pretty minor, I think, relative to the other issues that I've heard this evening, and I don't have time to discuss it anymore, but I think that you guys are doing a pretty good job, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tabitha Gaines. Tabitha Gaines.
No Tabitha?
Nope. That's all.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That concludes our public comment section. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate your concerns and your words. We will take note of that. Item 4, consent agenda. I haven't received anything from anybody to remove anything, so I would entertain a motion.
I so move approval as presented.
A second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, uplifted hand. Opposed by the same sign. Seeing none, motion carries. All right. Item 5, teaching and learning. 5A, receive information regarding the instructional material selection process. Dr. Knoll.
All right, we will invite Dr. Edith the Upshaw, our Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning.
President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll, good evening. I come to you today to talk to you about the annual instructional material selection process. As you know, this year we will undergo Proclamation 2022, which involves curriculum materials for health and physical education. So in accordance to board policy listed on your item, we will present to you some recommendations that are offered to you that go through a district committee. So in our district, we have a district committee of teachers where we do surveys and forms. Then what's different from other years in the past is that this committee now comes in conjunction with our Student Health Advisory Committee, which is our SHAC committee, to make this recommendation to you. I want to remind you that part of this process is that when we go to select materials for our students, we don't purchase or select anything or adopt anything that has not gone through the State Board of Education adoption process and is on their list. So part of this adoption process also has a public showcase where our community can give input, and that is done on January 13th through January 31st, where the community can view the material, give feedback to the material, and that's in consideration not only to the district committee but also to the SHAC committee. And our goal is to be back to you hopefully in March of next school year with our selected material for your approval. Do you have any questions?
Okay.
Dr. Upshaw, so what grades are we talking about for these materials?
So all grades for PE, and then the high school health credit course.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Dr. Upshaw.
you very much.
Appreciate you. 6A, Planning and Construction. 6A, consider acceptance of the Stockton Junior High School construction project.
All right, Mr. Foster.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll. It's my pleasure to bring forward for your consideration the acceptance as complete of Stockton Junior High School. I'll remind you, this contract also included the building additions to Irons Junior High. So Irons Junior High was completed and open for our students to use in 2018, and Stockton was completed and open for our students to use in August of 2020. Since then, we've worked through the financial calculations and all the contracts, the subcontracts, change orders, everything that happens over a construction project. And in total, this guaranteed maximum price of $55,948,324 was met. The total cost for the project was certified at $55,948,324. What we're asking for is your acceptance is complete, so we can authorize final payment for the contractor for work as it's been completed. And the final payment is estimated to be $1,329,205.85. This time, we're requesting your approval.
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
A second. All right. Any questions, comments, discussion?
Can you remind me, Mr. Foster, how many additional classrooms we added to Irons?
There were 10 additional classrooms.
10.
in Irons.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was 8 or 10. Okay, thank you.
And Stockton was completed when?
It opened for students in August of 2020.
August of 2020. Okay, so I'm just impressed that you're able to keep it at the budget we had, you know, with the construction costs being what they were during that time period and how y'all were able to manage that budget. I appreciate you staying on top of that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Made it look easy.
All right, any other thoughts and concerns? All right.
Yeah, I just want to make one
Yes,
other
sir.
comment. You know, Stockton was a special junior high in the sense that we added the brand-new solar panels out there. We created a brand-new science area regarding solar and energy production and things like that. And I was really amazed. It sounds as though, from what I understand, that those solar panels are giving us the return that we anticipated back. And everyone I talk to seems to be very pleased with what's going on over there regarding the electrical production and such.
Yes, sir. Actually, the solar production has exceeded our estimates. I mean, so it's doing better than we'd anticipated, which is always good for our return on the investment. But it sheds the use of the job site too. I mean, so we're not just producing power, we're reducing our need on the grid.
Right.
And then when we're not using it, we're selling it back.
We're selling
So
it back.
We're not consuming, the grid is purchasing it back from us.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
I appreciate you doing that. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. All right, all those in favor of the motion, so by uplifted hand. All right, any opposed by the same sign? Abstentions? Very good. Motion passes. All right, item B, receive capital improvements update. Mr. Foster.
This time, I'd like to give you an update of what's going on with our capital improvements throughout the district. I'm going to start you with Creighton Elementary, which was an overhaul. Over the summer, we did the air conditioning systems and things above the ceiling, all the security and radio upgrades, camera upgrades, got lighting all over that campus. So we've turned our attention kind of outside. So we're working this summer, or this school year, doing the small things on the outside of the building. This is the slab and foundation area for what's going to be an expanded kitchen as we create a larger kitchen to give us a larger serving line on the inside of the building to give us a better ability to serve the population on that campus. We've also, we've upgraded the water systems to add fire sprinkler and other things to that campus. This is the new generator that's been delivered and is in the process of being installed. In this downtime, I'd like to say we're also waiting on Entergy to bring us new power. I mean, all the stuff going on around the country has slowed that process down, so it's not hurting our schedule because we are in that down period. But we look forward to Entergy hooking us up so that we can fire up the fire sprinkler systems, things of that nature, and get that portion of the project done. It is on schedule. We're scheduled to be done with the project overall at the end of next summer, so August of 2022. At our new Moorhead Junior High School, which is out adjacent to Caney Creek High School, you can see the building structure is moving moving from the athletic, fine arts, CTE towards the admin and academic sides of the building. The track is very evident on the site now, all the site paving, the driveways, the access, the detention, those things are in place, and now we're working on the building itself. So the structure is moving forward. I mean, so the trucks are moving in slowly, but they are moving in. And then on the inside of the building, where we can lay blocks and bricks and build building systems, that's exactly what we're doing. The project is currently on schedule and is scheduled to open for students in August of 2023. At Conroe High School, this is our major renovation project across the whole campus. So I'll just kind of carry you through this aerial view. In the foreground, the large dirt area is the new JV football venue. You can see the light standards for that field have been installed, and the ground and the other work is going on to raise that field up so that over the next several months you'll see the track take shape and the field itself take shape as we get that facility ready, which will allow us to open up other areas of the campus for more parking and more buildings and things of that nature. In the upper left part, the red part of the just to the west of Moorhead Stadium is the new athletic venues for the main building. As we're going through there, you'll see those add more detail in another picture in a minute. And at the very top of the screen, which is hard to see, there's some little blue lines that are surrounded by some red dirt areas, which is the new Cte Venues that surround the current band hall on that campus. So the new athletic venues is a big part of the mitigation of the elevation across that site. So you can see the foundations for the largest part of that foundation, which is immediately adjacent to the Moorhead Stadium, are being constructed as we speak. And it kind of gives you the scale of the magnitude it takes to level out that campus there. That piece of equipment is about 8 to 10 feet tall. So that building there is, the bottom of the finished floor of the new venue will be about 15 feet above the field level. So as we move north or west on the site, you see the foundations for the new Cte Venues are underway. Both the athletic and the Cte Venues turn over at the end of the fall semester next school year. And those projects are currently on schedule, and we look forward to turning those over in the fall, winter break time period for students to use. And then we'll continue on around that campus. We'll be on that campus through December of 2025. At our new Jet Center, which is at the end of the Wood Forest Mini Stadium, we're marching forward to what I call the milestone of drying in the building. So masonry, roofing, and windows are next. You can see from this angle, the masonry on the street side of the building is nearing completion. On the field side, as we're stacking up the bricks and blocks on there as well. So the next step there are windows, and then as we're working on the inside, you're starting to see building systems, walls, offices, conference rooms, things of that nature, that'll make it a good teaching and learning center for our teachers. It is scheduled to turn over for our use in the spring semester, so we're looking to anticipate the end of January, 1st of February being done with that, and is currently on schedule. We've got some supply chain rumors on that particular project, but we feel like they're managed currently. So we look forward to finishing on time. Our safety and security project for 2021, we've wrapped it up at this point. It's hard to show you good pictures of it, but here's just a piece of the equipment that nobody ever gets to see, but it's the amplification systems for the first responder radio system. And these systems, we're putting in all of our buildings as we touch them, but the safety and security project is taking care of the ones that don't have major renovations on them. And this is the kind of system that lets our first responders, radio, throughout the building. So that's your police, your fire, your EMS, 100% coverage inside the buildings with their radios, regardless of the conditions. So the 2021 installment is done. We're working through the punch list now. Over the next couple of months, we'll do the financial analysis. And we look forward to bringing in January the 2022 installment for approval as we move on throughout the district. At Gordon Reed Elementary, over on the west side of our school district in the Conroe High School feeder zone, that building is moving along very fine. So we're working through the exterior masonry, structure's done, working on the roof. You can see the crews on the roof working on the what is the western end of the building, working to the east. The project is on schedule, scheduled to open in August of 2022. You can see from our pictures, I mean, we're moving our way around. Like dry in is the next big milestone for that building. Bricks and the finished veneer should be arriving in the next several weeks, and as soon as it gets there, we'll be installing. On the inside, you see building systems. This is a shot from the library looking out across the commons area, so you can see lots of work happening everywhere there can happening. And like I said, it is currently on schedule and scheduled to open in August of 2022. At Oak Ridge High School, this is our overhaul of the Oak Ridge High School campus, as well as our South County CTE project. The changes are still subtle. We've been working with the utility companies, getting utilities out of our way, but you can start to see the work where the new admin section is going to be on that building. So we're getting ready to do the building foundations and get that foundations underway and the building structure on its way and coming. We'll be on the Oak Ridge High School campus for a total of 30 months, and we're really just getting started. It is currently on schedule. We're going to be turning it over in phases, so the admin first, and then we'll get the CTE started. So we'll be on that project for some time, but it is going rather well. At Wilkerson Intermediate, this is our PE classroom additions, the gym for Wilkerson Intermediate. This is one where we have told you about supply chain issues, and you can see we're doing our best to accommodate those issues. So the walls themselves are essentially built, as you can see from this picture. As you can see, a set of stairs in the gym area now. Those stairs are in the structure for the mezzanine, which holds all the air conditioning equipment. It has been delivered and it's on site, so shipment of the building itself has been confirmed, so it should be in our hands with steel ready to erect on November the 5th, which is currently fits in line with the plan the contractor's given us to still turn that building over for our use after the winter break. So we will still be on that site because there's still some loose ends to wrap up in the main building once we get the gym open, but we feel relatively confident we'll be bouncing balls in the gym and shooting baskets in the spring semester for sure. Now, at Conroe High School 9th grade classroom addition, so that is another building that's come along very well. So you can see it's starting to disappear amongst the structure itself, but you'll see the scaffold there in the center of the building around the dirt. Moving towards the dry-in period, so the roof, the structure's done, the roof deck is done. We're waiting on the roof polyiso materials, which is another supply chain rumor at the moment. But we're doing everything we can to get it dried in. So the structure itself, the brick walls, the block walls, all that stuff is there and being installed, and on the inside of the building, you'll see those same building systems come together as well. Currently, that project is on schedule. It was scheduled to turn over for our use in August of 2022.
It's great work, Mr. Foster. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Right, thank y'all.
Questions, comments for Mr. Foster? All right. Item 7A, consider award of RFP 21-07-02, new and used vehicles.
All right, Mr. Reeve.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll. Tonight, we're requesting that the board awards RFP number 21-07-02, new and used vehicles to the following vendors for an annual estimated expenditure of $505,000. Those vendors are Buckaloo Chevrolet, Caldwell Country Chevrolet, and Gullo Ford. The requests for proposals pertaining to the purchase of new and used fleet vehicles for the district were emailed to registered vendors through the electronic e-bidding system and advertised on the Conroe ISD purchasing website and also multiple times in the Courier. Unit pricing was requested for new vehicles and a catalog discount to quote used vehicles through October of 2022. We had 5 vendors submit bid responses. These proposals were evaluated by the CISD Maintenance Department, the Transportation Department, the Technology Department, the CISD Police Department, and reviewed by the Purchasing Department. Funds for the purchase of new vehicles are provided in the general fund. Best value offers are recommended for award, and at this time, we request your approval.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So move. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Go ahead. Mr. Williams.
We'll start here, come on down.
They start with the best looking typically, so. Deidre, that would be you, Mr. Williams.
There you go.
But in any event, out of just curiosity, just roughly how many vehicles is this? I heard IT,
About 15.
maintenance, about 15 vehicles? Are these all various sedans,
So we're
trucks,
looking at work
mixed
trucks,
batch?
cargo vans, passenger vans, work trucks.
Yeah, and I don't mean to catch you with a question that you may not be prepared for, and I understand if you're not. Our vehicle fleet, what do we typically put on our cars before do we trade them back in, or?
We don't.
How do we dispose of them, or
We pretty much
ride till they die?
Ride them till they die. And
Okay. That's how I do it. I'm good. Thank you so much, sir.
You answered all of mine, you're good to go.
Mr. Reeves, I saw we awarded to 3 vendors.
Yes.
But you anticipated there were 5 vendors.
Yes, sir.
Of the 2 that were not, were any of those 2 local? Because I only saw the 3 vendors that were.
They were not automotive dealers.
They were what?
They were not automotive dealers.
Oh, they were not
No, sir.
automotive dealers?
No, sir.
Ah, okay, okay. Well, I am very pleased that we try to stay as local as we can. I also looked at their prices, and their prices were very reasonable. But we all know, that Buckaloo Chevrolet and Gullo are great supporters of our district as well. And I just want to always make sure when we're looking, especially at local vendors, that we try to not just look solely at the price, that there's got to also be those other kind of items that go into that. I mean, the Gullo family and the Buckaloo family, both very generous to this district in a lot of different ways. And I was glad to see that we could not only award them because of their price, but also that we could reward their loyalty to our community.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor, show by uplifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign, and abstentions? All right, motion passes.
I'll just make one other note, since we're talking about new vehicles, and I think I'd mentioned this to you all in email, but just so the public can hear this too. Chevrolet, which is where we buy most of our police vehicles, has changed their color palette. So our CISD police cars have been silver for many years. Our newest police cars are more of a darker gray. So if you see kind of a darker gray looking with the Conroe ISD logos, you might think, oh, maybe that's not real. It is real. That is the new color. So we're not going to go back and paint the old cars, but as we buy new cars, they will phase in.
Discontinued our colors. So.
Yes, yeah. So we'll phase in the new color. So.
The tickets are the same.
Yeah, that's right. Still got to slow down in the speed zone. Yeah. School zone, slow down. That's still.
The lights are the same color.
Yeah. Still got to push hard. You're making a copy. All right, very good. Moving to item 7B, consider award of RFP 21-08-04 school buses.
They're still going to be yellow.
That didn't change.
Yeah, okay.
New palette.
Once again, we're requesting the award of RFP number 21-08-04 for school buses to the following vendors for an annual estimated expenditure of approximately $3.1 million. Those vendors are Longhorn Bus Sales and Thomas Bus Gulf Coast. The request for proposals pertaining to the purchase of school buses for the district was emailed to registered vendors through our electronic e-bidding system, advertised on the our CISD purchasing website and multiple times in the Courier. Unit pricing was requested for new buses and a catalog discount to quote used vehicles through October 2022. 4 vendors submitted bid responses. These proposals were evaluated by the CISD Transportation Department and reviewed by the Purchasing Department. The pricing that we're showing from this year reflects approximate 10% increase over last year. Funds for the purchase of the new buses are provided in our Capital Projects Fund. Best value offers are recommended, and at this time, we request your approval.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? Mr. Moore?
I noticed that we, on item 8 and 9, the 10-passenger type A and the used bus, there was no award because apparently there was no bid received. Are we going to be going back out for those, or we decided we could do without those for a while?
We don't typically see a lot in that, but yes, sir, there was just no response at this time.
Okay, but it's not going to put us in a hole transportation-wise? Okay.
No, sir.
Mr. Sanders?
That was one of my questions. The other one was regarding just the overall price. The increase, I understand increases, I understand personal vehicles because of microchips. Are there a lot of microchips in buses?
We're
I
seeing
just
a lot
can't.
of it's affecting the whole industry.
Really?
Auto industry, so
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Got chips in the bus.
I get it then. The sticker price is the sticker price.
Right.
I did notice too, we had some propane, some diesel, and I think 1 or 2 smaller gasoline.
Requested quotes.
So I know we get better mileage with one, but better fuel efficiency with the other.
We're
but-
looking at the diesel buses.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask you about, is what's kind of our long-term, because I know years ago, we got the propane tank basically for nothing from a grant.
Right.
And that's what started our process of buying some propane buses. And we've had time now to evaluate those. And I just want to make sure that we're continuing to evaluate those. Like I said,
Yes, sir.
I know they're better efficiency-wise, but fuel may be more expensive and
Right.
diesel the other way. So.
And Transportation Department does take that into consideration when they do the evaluations, and so.
Right,
based
about how
on
many
the
miles it's going to be
recommendations.
driven
Yes,
on? Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
What is the average life of a bus?
Sam, what do we?
20 years.
Too long. Oh, there he is.
The white fleet until it can't run no more.
Big overhaul.
20 years.
20 years?
You can overhaul the diesel engines.
We have some 88 models that they use in campuses, just like a shuttle bus. So they're built very durable. Buses are built same as moving ground transportation.
Okay.
They last.
And are these buses to replace other buses, or we have new?
We're adding to the fleet.
We're adding to the fleet? Okay. Are they air conditioned?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And seatbelts?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep, seatbelt, okay. All right, anything else? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, show by the uplifted hand. Anybody opposed, by the same sign? Abstentions? Very good, motion passes. Dr. Snow, I'd like to put the meeting in recess so
Okay.
we can move on to item 8.
All right, item 8A. We will now move into our public hearing for the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. We're just going to kind of shift the podium around here as Ms. Garza comes forward to make this presentation. At the conclusion of her presentation, there'll be an opportunity if the public would like to make any comments regarding this first presentation. There will be an opportunity for that. And now we will turn it over to Mrs. Garza.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, Dr. Null, and community members. It is my pleasure this evening to present the results of the 2020-2021 first report. The state school financial accountability rating system, known as the School Financial Integrity Rating System, or FIRST, ensures that Texas public schools are held accountable for the quality of their financial management practices. The system is designed to encourage Texas public schools to better manage their financial resources and to provide maximum allocation possible for direct instructional purposes. So first report scoring. Our first report this year was based on an analysis of staff and student data from the 2019-2020 school year and budgetary and actual financial data for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2020. We were rated on 20 separate performance indicators this year. We do have 5 new indicators. Later on in the presentation, they will be identified with an asterisk next to the indicator number. They're broken into 3 major categories. We have critical indicators, solvency indicators, and financial competence indicators. And they are either pass or fail or worth a predetermined amount of points. So how are ratings assessed? There are 4 separate ratings that we can receive. On the first report, the lowest being an F with a score of 0 to 69, and then of course the highest being an A, which is a superior achievement with a score of 90 to 100. We are pleased to announce that Conroe ISD has received an A, or a superior rating, receiving 100 out of 100 possible points, a perfect score. The superior rating is of course the state's highest, demonstrating the quality of Conroe ISD's financial management and reporting systems.
All right.
Now we will take you through the 20 indicators. Our first category of indicators is our critical indicators. Indicator number 1 was the annual financial report. Data submitted to TEA within the 30 days of the due date. Yes, Conroe ISD's was submitted on January 22nd. Number 2, was there an unmodified opinion in the AFR on the financial statements as a whole? Conroe ISD did receive an unmodified opinion, which is the highest you can receive from an external auditor. Number 3, was the school district in compliance with all payment terms of debt obligations at fiscal year end? Yes, we were in compliance with all payment terms. Number 4, did the district make timely payments to the teacher retirement system, the Texas Workforce Commission, the Internal Revenue Service, and other governmental agencies? Yes, we were in compliance with all payments. Indicator number 5, once again, was not scored regarding net position, and this was a result of the GASB 68 and 75 accounting pronouncements regarding net pension liability, as the majority of states in the state, or districts in the state of Texas, had a negative net position. Therefore, they did not score this indicator. We do anticipate that this one will be removed or replaced with another indicator going forward. Next, moving on to our solvency indicators. Indicator number 6, was the average change in fund balance over the last 3 years less than a 25% decrease, or did the district's year-end fund balance exceeds 75 days of operational expenditures? We did pass on both components of this indicator. Number 7 was the number of days cash on hand and current investments in the general fund sufficient to cover operating expenditures. Yes, Conroe ISD had 124 days cash on hand. We needed 90 to receive a perfect score. Indicator number 8, was the measure of current assets to current liabilities ratio for the district sufficient to cover short-term debt? Yes. Number 9, did the school district general fund revenues exceed expenditures? Yes. Indicator number 10, did the school district average a less than 10% variance when comparing budgeted revenues to actual, over the last 3 fiscal years. Yes, our variance was 4%. Number 11 was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets for the school district sufficient to cover long-term solvency. If the district's increase in student membership over the last 5 years was greater than 7%, we automatically pass this indicator. Our membership grew by 11.2%, therefore we automatically pass. Indicator number 12 was the debt per 100 of assessed property value ratio sufficient to cover future debt payments. Yes. Number 13 was the school district's administrative cost ratio equal to or less than the threshold. The acceptable ratio is 0.0855. Conroe ISD's administrative cost ratio is 0.0381. Number 14, did the school district not have a 15% decline in the student-to-staff ratio over the 3 years? If student enrollment increased, the district automatically passes this indicator. Conroe ISD's enrollment increased by 3,219 students over this 3-year period, so we automatically pass. Now moving on to financial competence indicators. Number 15, was the school district's actual ADA within the allotted range of the district's biannual pupil projections submitted to TEA? Yes. Number 16, did the comparison of PEIMS data to like information in the district's AFR result in a less than 3% variance? We had 0% variance, so we passed this indicator. Indicators 17 and 18 deal with internal controls over financial reporting and compliance with regard to spending local, state, and federal funds. We did receive a clean audit, therefore we passed both indicators 17 and 18. And then indicator 19, did the school district post the required financial information on its website in accordance with all government codes and other statutes that were in effect at fiscal year end? Yes, all required postings were there. And then lastly, indicator number 20, did the school board members discuss the district's property values at a board meeting within 120 days before the district adopted its budget? And yes, of course, that is always part of our budget presentation. We always like to compare to our peer districts. This is Conroe ISD's first report rating compared to our 5 peer districts. And then the first report, along with the additional required disclosure, including the superintendent's contract and the school first annual financial management report, can be located on the district's transparency website at the link listed below.
Thank you, Mrs. Garza. At this time, if there is anyone from the public that would like to make a comment, we invite you to come to the podium. If you would please keep your remarks to 2 minutes.
Can I ask a question? Could you talk a little bit more about number 13?
13.
All right, so the administrative cost ratio is basically taking our expenditures in function 21, which is instructional administration in this building, and function 41, which is all the administration, human resources, finance, part of technology, and then dividing it by the instructional expenses, which is functions 11, 12, 13, and 31. So the state has set a threshold that they consider is acceptable at 0.0855%, and ours is at 0.0381. So we are less than half of what the state is recommending.
So, yes. All right. Any other questions or comments? If you would come to.
Sure. All right, so this is a pretty simple one. This is just saying, did our revenues in the general fund exceed expenditures for the fiscal year? And yes, we did increase our fund balance in fiscal year 1920, so we did pass this indicator.
So basically, if you run a deficit budget,
Correct.
then you would not score here. Okay. Or you would, I guess, lose points based
Correct.
on that. Okay. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Garza. That will conclude our public hearing, Mr. Hubert.
Very good. I'll come back into recess. The time is 7:09. Thank you for those questions and for your consideration. And Ms. Garza, thank you for your preparation for that, too.
Great job.
Yes,
Good job.
thank you.
Item 8B, receive financial report. Ms. Garza.
Stay on up there. Okay, we'll keep rolling here.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll. It is my pleasure to present the financial statements for the month ended September 30th. First statement is our balance sheet. The balance sheet shows the district's assets. Turned off?
It's on.
I don't know.
It's on, Chris.
The statement shows the district's assets, liabilities, and fund balance. In the general fund, we have total assets at the end of September of $637.1 million. In debt service of $131.3, in child nutrition just over $7 million, and self-funded insurance $9.8 million. Next statement is our income statement. The income statement shows the district's revenues and expenditures. As you will notice in the general fund, our payroll is negative year-to-date. That has to do with a standard accounting entry that we do at the end of the fiscal year for our payroll accrual that then is reversed in the first period of the new fiscal year. That is very common. Total expenditures in the general fund year-to-date, $4.1 million. Self-funded insurance, $7.4 million. In child nutrition, just over $1.8 million. And in debt service, $14,000. Our 2019 bond referendum, year-to-date, we have expended $274.2 million, leaving $377.5 remaining. Of our authorized bond referendum of $653.7, we have sold to date $311.5 million. Self-funded insurance, tough month for the plan. Total revenues of $4.3 million. Total expenditures of just over $5 million for a net loss for the month of $757,000. Participation at our wellness centers was at $311 this month. And our investments as of September 30th, par value was just over $475 million. Our pools are yielding 0.0658. Our investments with Wood Forest, this is the additional yield that I talked about last month. We're at 30 basis points on that $40 million that we have with them. And then our longer-term investments with TCG are yielding 0.9162 for a combined yield for the whole portfolio of just over 17 basis points compared to our benchmark, the 90-day T-bill at 0.033.
Ms. Garza, can you refresh my memory? Was that yield at Wood Forest, was that for a specified time or as long as we have the investments?
For the length of our depository contract
Okay.
with them.
I couldn't remember if
for
there
the
was
next 2 years.
a time limit.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Garza?
Do you know when property tax statements will be sent out?
They actually went out on Monday, the 18th, yesterday.
Yes. So I have a goodie in my
So you will
mailbox.
have a surprise in your mailbox.
Go home and
Yes.
check your mail.
Stop checking the mail.
Return to sender stamp, return to sender.
Time for Halloween.
No, thank you, not this year.
Gave it the office.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. We will move to item 9, which is executive session. A closed session of the board will now be held on the matters contained in the notice for this meeting as authorized by section 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Should the board determine that any financial action, final decision, or final vote be required with regard to any matter considered in such closed or executive meeting or session, then such final action, final decision, or final vote shall be at either A, this public meeting upon the reconvening of the public meeting, or B, at the subsequent public meeting of the board upon notice thereof, as the board shall determine. A closed session of the board will now be held. The time is 7:13. The board is now in open session at 8:01. We'll move to item 11, which is legal. Item 11A, Board of Trustees Continuing Education Announcement. So here we go. Under State Board of Education rule, completing required continuing education each year of service has a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As president of the Conroe Independent School District of Trustee, I am required to announce the names of each member who, as of that member's anniversary of election or appointment of the board, has 1, completed the required continuing education, 2, exceeded the requirement continuing education, and 3, who is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. I am pleased to announce that all members of Conroe Independent School District Board of Trustees met the requirements and exceeded the requirements amount of continuing education. So your gold stars are Ray Sanders, Datron Williams, Dale Inman, and I, Skeeter Hubert, exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 1.5 hours. The 5 gold stars is Stacy Chase, exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 9 hours. The 15 gold stars is Teresa Wagman, exceeding the required amount of continuing education training by 10.5 hours. And all the remaining stars go to Scott Moore, exceeding the required amount of continuing education training by 37.25 hours. This announcement will be reflected in the meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Very good.